everyone, and welcome to the second episode of our CL Services podcast series. My name is Tim Griffin. I'm the Director of Marketing and Media here at CL Services. And with me today, I have two very special guests. I have Prasad Gallipalli, founder and CEO of Trucker Tools.
Hey, Tim. Nice for the opportunity to be here.
Absolutely. And I have Brian Boston, Director of Business Development at CL Services.
Hey, guys. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
And thank you all for joining us. Welcome to the show. And, before I get too far into the show today, I do want to just kind of kick things off. Why don't you guys just tell me a bit about yourselves, what you do, what kind of led you into the industry. And I guess, Prasad, you can go ahead and kick us off with that.
Sure, definitely. Thanks again, Tim, and hello, everyone. So I got in this industry through shipping. So I started in shipping and then got into transportation. In transportation, primarily, I was in the load board, freight matching technologies side, primarily helping companies scale up faster. And when smartphones became are getting popular, I founded Trucker Tools, and that's how that has been my journey.
Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and kind of what led you not only to CL Services, but into the 3PL industry?
Yeah. And, I'll say for everybody out there, you can call me Boston as well. We're all family and friends here, but starting at the beginning, kind of like Prasad, I was fortunate enough to leave a previous career in customer service for one of the United States' larger power companies and joined the team over here at CL Services in a entry-level position. That was 10 years ago, and I've been excited and thrilled to be a part of this team for the last decade to watch and see our company grow to the iteration of it today as we continue to look for new silos and new services that we can bring to our current and prospective clients.
That's awesome. Thanks, guys. I, again, appreciate you joining me today. And today we are here to talk about using technology to transform your logistics organization. So I guess I'm going to kick us off with a pretty standard question just to get things started here. So Prasad, I'll start with you and then we'll kind of hand it off to Brian after that. So the first question today is, why is technology important in logistics?
This is an ongoing discussion, right? Technology is paramount, right? The main purpose of technology in transportation is to primarily decrease the cost of transportation, make it easy for all the parties that are involved in transportation. The third one is make it optimize transportation. So in all these things, there is one goal, right? Ultimate goal for whether you're a shipper, broker, 3PL, carrier, end consumer is how do we bring the cost of transportation down? Through automation, seamlessly working with various parties, eliminating manual tasks. You can name these things, but ultimately the goal is how do we reduce the cost of transportation?
Yeah, and I'll piggyback there, Tim, and say that in regards to what Prasad is disclosing here, right? Cost of transportation is the name of the game for the bulk of our clients. How do you provide the service that you deserve and that our clients' customers deserve at a low cost? One thing that I believe we've seen over the last couple of years and in the decade that I've been in the transportation environment is that as we approach a more technology focused and centric bubble, the way that you drive that cost down is through visibility. And visibility ultimately allows for you to navigate complex and simple scenarios to drive a solution that benefits not only the carrier, but also benefits the end customer or client.
It definitely makes sense what both of you guys are saying, just using technology to ultimately reduce the overhead that's kind of driving that cost for not only, the person providing the service, but for the person who's paying for the service as well. So I guess that kind of leads into the next question here, which is what do each of you see as the most important technology in the transportation industry today?
I'll jump out there and say that it really comes down to that visibility, right? And at the end of the day, if you know where your trucks are, when they will arrive to the customer, and where they might be on their way to your inbound manufacturing plant, it provides a platform for success. And without that level of visibility, we're out here really just looking and hoping to have that driver or that truck arrive in a timely fashion exactly when we'd like it to be. With today's workforce issues and other bottlenecks that we see in the supply chain, over the next 5 to 10 years, I personally, and I think as a corporation, we're highly focused on not only general technology, but how does that technology leverage itself for visibility to our clients so that they then again can position themselves for success regardless of the scenario that they're faced with.
I really like the way Brian said this, right? The visibility of trucks, right? Available trucks and where they are currently loaded to, right? Because, all of this from a vendor point, right? We call this digital technologies or digital platform. The main purpose is really knowing where a particular load is in transit or in the process, like Brian said, or more importantly, where the next truck that's going to pick up your load is going to be. Now, kind of gives a lot of reliable services for these shippers that are waiting to move their freight, or consumers that are expecting these goods to arrive at their doorsteps. And without that technology, that seamless integration, it's going to become really, really difficult moving into the future. So as Brian said, digital technologies that focus on visibility, freight matching, moving the order back and forth, right? Whether it's invoices, rate confirmation, all of that, seamlessly, tying these things together is going to be the future.
We've spoken a bit about the technology side of things. I'm going to ask a little bit more about the people behind the technology, right? So how do you find ways as an organization or even as a provider, I suppose, as Trucker Tools, to really find a way to mesh the technology with that human expertise?
I'll jump out there and take that one first. I think for us, we will never go away from a foundation of being very customer centric, being very carrier centric, and being focused on remaining a phone business and having the relationships that drive clarity. That's not to say that technology isn't where we're headed, but it's similar to maybe a dating app. And I don't know if that's a good analogy to it, right? But you can go into a dating app and swipe left, swipe right, and find somebody who's a clear match for you, but you still need to have a conversation. And there still needs to be a relationship there to make sure that the technology that brought you together and gave you the visibility of each other is valid, and there's the necessary communication that will make everybody happy at the end result. So for us, I believe that as we continue to move forward as a technology-centric company, we'll try to maintain our values and our foundation that brought us to the point that we are, and that's that whether you're in transportation or any other business, relationships and straightforward communication and openness and honesty will remain the foundations of human interactions.
Brian, thanks for saying that. I've heard this matching analogy for a while in freight matching, or Match.com analogy rather. Looking at the same thing, human relationships and technology from a vendor point, I think it's paramount. You cannot build technology without actually having people be part of it. Like customers like you, we're fortunate to have customers like CL Services, But more importantly, you take part in our roadmap. You can't just, we can't, Trucker Tools can't just go out and keep building this technology without the input from customers. That's one thing. The second part is on the carrier driver side, bringing them together and having them walk with us. Tell us where the pain points are, how we could do a better job tomorrow, right? This is a constant cycle. It's like a marriage, right? I mean, you have to stay together, work on it every single day to make it better. And that involves people. Because at the end of the day, there are people using it. And the beauty of technology is not everybody is adopting to technology at the same rate. Some people love to be on the forefront, some people love to be the laggers, right? So we have to cater to both. Unless you bring both sides and hear them out, it's very hard to move this way.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as with many things in this world, this is just technology in general, can be relatively unreliable, spotty from time to time. And I guess my question that I want to ask is, since it can be unreliable from time to time, is there any downfall to putting so much emphasis on technology?
I think the word, it's easy just to say technology, right? That we all say it. I think every conference that I go to now, people ask, "Hey, what's your technology? How are you leveraging technology?" And technology is it's a wide arena. That's not a specific phrase. It's not a moniker for everything. But what it is a synonym for tools. And if I think about it like a tool, and if we look at it from a potential downfalls of fully relying on it and unreliability, think about it as a hammer or maybe a drill or a screwdriver, right? Over time, those things have gotten better and they've become more reliable. A good example would be, there's still a reason for somebody to own a screwdriver, and there's another reason for somebody to own a impact driver, right? And so the reliability of those tools largely comes down to the user of them. I could honestly tell you that I can use a hammer, but if you watch me try and hammer a nail through a 2x4 and I miss it 2 or 4 times, you might start giggling, right? Is that the hammer's fault, or is that my fault for not focusing on what the hammer is built to do and utilizing it in the best way, shape, or form? Now, of course, is there an instance where a hammer breaks? Yeah, most likely that happens to people. Does it happen frequently? No. It just so happens that a lot of people will focus on the one time that it might have happened. And so I do believe that in today's age, where we have 5G as a strong foundation for GPS and telecommunications, we have the ELDs that everybody thought was going to be the end of the world a couple of years ago, but have turned out to be a huge leverage point for visibility partners and for customers and carriers alike to know exactly where their equipment is. I would say that the risk is nowhere near the reward.
Yeah, I mean, whenever we're talking about technology, it really has come so far, just even in the last 5-10 years. I mean, this is something that's just constantly evolving, and we're almost at the point where we can't even really keep up with all these, phone updates and stuff like that. It's just like constantly finding new updates, new ways to improve things around here. So my next question for both of you, how have you seen freight, tracking, technology, the entire industry really, how have you seen it all evolve in your time?
When I think about how far we come up, transportation for one industry, we always take the blame that we are slow to adopting technology. In many ways, everybody expects us to have flashier servers. Everything happens with the touch of a button. That's not true. That can't be true, because in my viewpoint, we are an industry where we move millions and millions of loads from point A to point B seamlessly every single day, having trucks, ships, planes, trains, and whatnot, right? Many people involved in this. The thousands and thousands of, I can even call it millions of people involved in this process. For us to just, press a button and everything happens seamlessly is going to be extremely difficult. But at the same time, we've been doing this when there were mainframes, and all the way down to the smartphones. So change is not going to happen overnight. And I don't want it to happen overnight because, in the process, you can't just kick all of your systems and next morning everything new system comes in. It's not going to happen. So it's a constant process. People don't see that. And it's a good thing. If people feel like we're not changing, but we're changing, that means we are doing a very good job of keeping our change not affect their business. So I want to give credit to all the people in technology, in transportation, for what we have been doing. Granted, sometimes we are a little slow to adopting to new technology because we want to make sure it's reliable. We're not jumping too far ahead. Yet we have vendors, I'll call ourselves as Trucker Tools. We've been on the forefront of smartphones. When I started Trucker Tools, there were 10 million smartphones in the whole country. Not just in the transportation, everyone. So for myself, I did not have an iPhone back then. I had a BlackBerry. But we have to push forward, right? We have to find these ways to keep us going. And where we are today, I think we're still in a very infant stage of this digital or data revolution that's happening right now. For the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see a lot of data, innovations where, everything is done smart. There people are using AI, machine learning, data science. All these three things are going to come together for us to make better decisions. So managers like Brian, Jim, Tim, you all make decisions based on the systems telling us what to do next. Our role of, being more efficient becomes better and better every day. I'm excited. I'm excited really to be living in this time.
Yeah, it's definitely it's a fun time to be around here, right? Fun time to be alive. Yeah, I mean, like you said, technology is just changing every day, and looking forward in the next 5 to 10 years, things are just going to be that much more, I guess, proactive in predicting what you're looking for, and helping you reach your goal at an even faster rate than we are now, which is just mind blowing to me. So, I guess. I guess since Prasad kind of touched on it already, what to expect in the next 5 to 10 years, Brian, why don't you tell us what you're kind of expecting in the next 5 to 10 years as far as technology and I guess even the industry as a whole?
Visibility being the name of the game today, and what do we see in the next 5 to 10 years that will really take the forefront after the visibility hurdle has been accomplished by a number of individuals. I personally think that we're moving towards a more automated environment altogether, and the ability to leverage API in today's space for not only visibility reasons but also just transactional values can produce a much quicker pace in the general transportation environment. And so does that look like real-time booking of full truckload transactions across the nation? Who really knows, right? But we've found ways to optimize the way that a truck is loaded. We've found ways to have visibility to where that truck is moving. The next frontier would be, in my perspective, how do you capture that truck in a quick and timely fashion at a competitive rate? And again, I'd go back to the digital platform that we already leverage with Trucker Tools being at the forefront of that environment, to be able to really understand who is available in a timely fashion, far out ahead of the need or the capacity request, puts not only ourselves but other individuals in that position where they can start building on an infrastructure that allows for everybody to have that feeling of what they have in the consumer space of, if I sit on my couch and I want to buy something on Amazon, I can buy it and it'll be there tomorrow. If I need to be picked up somewhere, I can use a number of different services and that vehicle will come and pick me up based on the rate that we agreed upon prior to me hitting accept. Today, that's capable in smaller amounts and smaller iterations, but we are quickly moving towards an environment where partnerships will require their providers to be as agile as some of the consumer products that they use on a daily basis.
Yeah, I think it's there's a lot to be said about, I mean, you just spoke to it, what Amazon has done. I think it goes back to what people have in their day-to-day lives, they now expect to have when they're at work as well. So, I mean, if you're moving freight for a living, you know, you expect to be able to track it just like you would, like you said, sitting on a couch, ordering, you know, some socks on Amazon. You want to be able to, if you can track socks from a distribution warehouse all the way to your front door, you should be able to track your freight at the drop of a hat. With all that being said, where can people get in touch with you to learn more about this wealth of knowledge that you seem to have about all things tracking and transportation related?
Definitely reach out to sales at Trucker Tools or marketing at Trucker Tools. Our sales and marketing team act as the front line in talking to our customers. When we have customers who have questions, our customer success team does an amazing job of these training sessions, having conversations with the customers.
And Brian, where can people get in touch with you and your team?
Oh, well, Tim, you already know the answer to that question, CLServicesinc.com. But more importantly, anytime that someone has any curiosities about how their truckload process, how their partial process, how their warehousing processes are being handled today and what somebody else could potentially bring to the table, we'd urge you to reach out, whether that be via our direct phone lines or the company phone numbers. You can reach us at 1-800-533-3932 or 678-686-0933. And ultimately, we're on LinkedIn, we're on the internet, and we're ready to hear any concerns that somebody has about ways to do their business differently. The best part about CL Services is that we're still a family-owned corporation, and from our perspective, a partnership that lasts a long term based on service and based on successful transactions and on-time delivery is much more valuable than a ad hoc or at whim conversation.
We will thank you guys both for joining me today. It's been a great conversation, just learning more about the industry, the ins and outs, and all the technology that seems to be out there today. But before we move on and close this thing out, I do want to say congratulations to Prasad. He is the father of a brand new baby girl. He's out here on his paternity leave and actually joined us from paternity leave today to record this. So thank you, Prasad, and congratulations.
Thank you, Tim. Again, thanks for the opportunity to be here. Brian, thanks for sharing your thoughts. I really like the way you said a lot of these things.
Awesome. Well, it's been a pleasure to be here with you gentlemen today, and look forward to continuing to grow the partnership and continuing to bring visibility to our clients and partners.
Thanks. Same here.